Anniversaries and holidays were supposed to be our thing. From the very beginning of our relationship, we had this unspoken rule. No matter how busy life got, we'd always make time for each other on special days. It wasn't about expensive gifts or grand gestures. It was about being present, about sharing those little moments that made life meaningful. That's why when she started pulling away, I noticed. The first time she skipped an anniversary, I didn't think much of it. "Work emergency," she had said, face flushed with frustration. "I'm so sorry, babe, I'll make it up to you this weekend." I told her it was fine, that I understood, and I did, because life happens, and sometimes things are out of our control. But the reschedule never happened. Then it was her birthday. Instead of our usual dinner plans, she insisted on a low-key celebration, just the two of us at home. I didn't question it at first, thinking maybe she was tired. But then I noticed her phone lighting up with notifications, one after the other, rapid-fire messages that made her smile, but she never let me see them. Then came Christmas. We had always spent Christmas Eve together, watching old movies, sipping hot chocolate, exchanging small gifts at midnight. But this time, she suddenly had to visit some distant relatives I had never even heard of before. "It was last minute," she said. "I completely forgot I promised them I'd come." New Year's Eve? She went on a girls' trip with friends I barely knew. "Just a little getaway," she had said, brushing it off. Valentine's Day? That one stung the most. We had always gone all out for it, not in a cheesy way, but in a way that was just ours. Homemade dinners, handwritten notes, long walks at night talking about the future. But this time she was just not into it this year. She even laughed at me when I mentioned making plans. "It's just a commercial holiday. Do we really need to do something?" That was new. It wasn't just the excuses. It was the way she delivered them. Carefully worded, too well rehearsed. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. She always had a reason, a perfectly logical, airtight reason that left no room for argument. But it didn't sit right with me. Then, the phone habits changed. She had never been secretive about her phone before. We both had nothing to hide, and it had never been an issue. But suddenly her phone never left her side. She took it with her to the bathroom, kept it under her pillow at night, even angled the screen away from me when texting. I tested something. One evening, while we were watching a movie, I casually reached for her phone, pretending to check the weather. She snatched it away in an instant, laughing nervously. Privacy, babe. We should respect each other's space. That was new. It wasn't just the phone, it was everything. The way she'd disappear into another room to take calls. The way she always turned her screen away when texting. The way she suddenly started locking her phone when she had never done so before. Then there were the mood shifts. Some days she'd be unusually affectionate, hugging me more, kissing me for no reason, acting like the woman I fell in love with. It felt off, like she was overcompensating. Other days she'd be distant, cold, dismissive. If I asked a simple question about her plans, she'd sigh and roll her eyes. "God, do you have to interrogate me every time I leave the house?" I wasn't interrogating. I was just asking. I started to feel like a stranger in my own relationship, but I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. Something was wrong, and if she wasn't going to tell me the truth, I was going to find it myself. Doubt creeps in like a slow poison. Once you start suspecting something, every little detail becomes a clue. Every interaction a puzzle piece waiting to be placed. I had ignored the signs for too long, convinced myself that I was overthinking. But deep down I already knew. I just needed proof. So I started paying attention. The excuses were piling up. The last-minute plans, the mysterious phone calls, the distant attitude, none of it added up. And yet, the moment I tried to ask, she turned it around on me. "Why are you being so controlling? Can't I have my own life? You're just being paranoid." Maybe I would have believed her if it weren't for that one slip-up. It happened in the kitchen on a random Tuesday night. She was texting someone, smiling at her phone, completely lost in the conversation. I wasn't even looking at her screen. I didn't need to. The look on her face said everything. Then a preview flashed across the screen. "Can't wait to see you again this weekend." My heart stopped. The contact name? Danny. A name I had never heard before. She noticed my gaze and quickly tilted, the phone away, locking the screen. "Work stuff," she muttered, shoving the phone into her pocket like it had burned her fingers. I forced myself to nod, to pretend I hadn't seen it, but something inside me snapped. That was the moment I knew for certain. Now, I just needed to know who he was. The next day, I casually brought up the name. "Hey, do we know anyone named Danny?" I watched her carefully, looking for any tell, any micro-expression that would give her away. Her reaction was too perfect. Too rehearsed. She shrugged, not even looking up from her coffee. "Nope. Why?" I should have felt heartbroken. Maybe I did. But at that moment, my emotions took a back seat to something stronger. Determination. She had been lying to my face for months. But lies don't last forever. I needed real proof. That's when I reached out to a mutual friend, someone who, unlike me, wasn't in the dark. I kept it casual. "Hey, have you seen her lately? She's been really busy." Their response nearly made me drop my phone. "Oh yeah. She mentioned she's been staying at that new place on the weekends." "Thought you knew?" "Staying where?" That was it. That was the final piece. The friend assumed I already knew about the apartment, her secret weekend place. My stomach twisted, but my mind was already moving a mile a minute. I didn't have time for emotions. Not yet. Because now, it was my move. Didn't act right away. That would have been too easy. If she had been lying to my face for months, the least I could do was make sure my next steps were calculated. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The next time she told me she'd be out of town for the weekend, I played along. I smiled, kissed her on the cheek, and told her to have fun. Then I followed her. I kept my distance, staying a few cars behind as she drove across town. She wasn't heading to the airport. She wasn't meeting up with friends. She wasn't even going to a work event. She was driving straight to an upscale apartment complex on the other side of the city. I parked out of sight and watched as she punched in the entry code like she'd done it 100 times before. She didn't hesitate. She wasn't looking around nervously or acting like someone sneaking around. No, she was comfortable here. This wasn't a secret to her, it was a routine. And then, as if to hammer the final nail into the coffin, he walked out. Tall, well-dressed, confident. The kind of man who looked like he belonged in a cologne commercial. He greeted her at the door with a smirk, the kind that only forms when someone knows they've won, the kind of smirk that says, "I'm taking what's yours." She smiled back at him, not the polite, distant smile she gave me at home, the one that had felt so forced in recent months. No, this was real. Her eyes lit up, her body language shifted. She melted into him like a woman completely at ease, and then she kissed him. Not a quick peck, not a hesitant, guilty hesitation. A full, intimate, "I've missed you" kiss. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palm. I felt my pulse pound in my ears, my jaw tightening so hard it ached. I wanted to storm over there, rip them apart, demand answers. But that would be a mistake. I forced myself to stay calm. I had one chance to handle this the right way. Over the next few weeks, I pieced together her entire second life. She had been seeing him for at least 6 months, longer than I had suspected. Every anniversary, every major holiday, every weekend where she claimed she had work commitments or personal time, she had been here, with him. I dug deeper. Her credit card statements revealed lavish dinner reservations under her name, 5-star hotel bookings, spa trips, jewelry purchases, all paid for with our joint account. I even found a weekend getaway receipt to a romantic cabin in the mountains, dated for our last anniversary. The same anniversary she had claimed she was too exhausted to celebrate. The night she had come home late, worn out, claiming she had been working overtime. She had never been at work. She had been there, with him. That's when the rage turned into something else. Something colder. I wouldn't just expose her. I would humiliate her, and I knew exactly how to do it. Rage wasn't enough. If I confronted her now, she'd deny everything, twist the truth, maybe even cry and make herself the victim. No, I needed to trap her in a scenario where there was no escape. That's when the idea hit me. I booked a reservation at the most exclusive fine dining restaurant in town, the kind of place where you needed connections just to get a table. A place where privacy was a luxury no one had. Then, using her email, I made a second reservation, under her name, 2 tables. One for her and her lover, one for me. I timed it perfectly. I arranged for their table to be prepaid and set up for a special occasion. Something that would force the restaurant staff to make a big deal out of it. A romantic, candle-lit setup, personalized menus, and of course, a handwritten note. From me. I arrived early and took my seat at a corner table, hidden just enough to watch everything unfold. I didn't need to guess when they would show up. I had access to her calendar. She had already blocked off the night for self-care. It was almost poetic. Then they walked in. She was glowing, dressed in an outfit she hadn't worn for me in years. She held his arm, leaning into him like a couple celebrating something special. They laughed as the hostess guided them to their seats, and then it happened. The waitress approached with a warm smile, placing down a bottle of champagne. "Compliments of your husband," she said, setting down an envelope in front of her. Her entire body went rigid. I could see her hands tremble as she picked up the envelope. She already knew something was wrong. Her affair partner looked confused, but she was frozen. She opened it, and I watched as her expression collapsed in real time. Inside was a simple note. "Hope he's worth it. Enjoy your dinner. You've paid for it after all." At that moment, I stood up. She saw me. Her eyes widened in horror as I locked eyes with her, then calmly turned and walked out the door. She knew she had lost, and I wasn't even finished yet. Stepped out into the cold night air, but my pulse was steady. I expected her to chase after me, to stumble out of the restaurant in a panic, desperately trying to explain away what had just happened. She didn't. Instead, I imagined her sitting there, frozen, knowing she had walked right into a trap of her own making. Let her marinate in it, but I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I got into my car, pulled out my phone, and began executing the final part of my plan. See, when I discovered her affair, I didn't just sit on the information. I prepared. I dug deep into her finances, tracked her digital footprint, and built a case so airtight that even the most expensive divorce lawyer couldn't help her. She had no idea that our shared accounts were already separated, that I had rerouted all the automatic payments she relied on into my name alone, that I had a forensic accountant review every cent she had ever spent using my money. And what I found was interesting. She had been using my income to fund her secret dates. I made sure she would pay every cent back. With a few taps on my phone, I forwarded screenshots of her financial transactions, timestamps, and her reservations with him, not just to my lawyer, but to hers as well. I copied her family in the email, then I sent one last message. "Dinner's on you, just like the past 2 years. Consider it your last meal at my expense." Then I blocked her. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a hotel, poured myself a drink, and watched as message after message flooded my notifications. Her mother called me. I ignored it. Her best friend texted, "What's happening? She's crying in the restaurant." I turned off my phone. She made her choices. Now, she'd have to live with them. The next morning, I returned home at dawn, well-rested and at peace. The moment I stepped inside, I saw her sitting on the couch clutching her phone, eyes swollen from crying. The second she saw me, she jumped up. "Listen," she started, voice shaking. It wasn't what it looked like, I swear. "Please, just," I held up a hand. She fell silent. Then I placed a folder on the table. "This," I said, voice calm, "is everything. Every lie, every stolen dollar, every night you thought I was oblivious." Her face turned pale as she opened it, flipping through bank statements, hotel receipts, and messages she probably thought were long gone. "I didn't." "You did." She swallowed hard. "So, what now?" I pulled out one last piece of paper and set it down in front of her. "Divorce papers." Her breath hitched. "You're serious?" I stared at her, unimpressed. "Were you serious every time you lied to me? Every time you snuck away on our anniversary?" Her eyes darted across the room, looking for an escape. There was none. I don't have anywhere to go," she whispered. I picked up my keys and shrugged. Not my problem. And just like that, I walked out the door. I didn't turn back. Not once. She had already stolen enough of my time. She wasn't going to steal another second. By the time I got to my lawyer's office later that morning, everything was already in motion. The divorce papers had been filed. Our joint accounts were officially split, and she had no access to a single cent of my money anymore. I made sure of that. Still, I knew she wouldn't go down quietly. Within hours, I got a call from her best friend. "She's a mess," she said. "She's saying you blindsided her, that you didn't even try to fix things." I almost laughed. Fix things? I took a deep breath, keeping my voice level. "Did she tell you about the other guy?" Silence. "That's what I thought. She said it wasn't serious," her friend finally muttered. "She wasn't confused when she made those dinner reservations. She wasn't confused when she planned those business trips. She wasn't confused when she looked me in the eyes and lied. I ended the call. I had no energy left for people who tried to justify what she did. By the end of the week, she lost everything, her family. Furious. They had thought we were the perfect couple. Now they knew the truth. Her social circle, shrinking by the hour. No one wanted to be associated with a woman who got publicly exposed for cheating. The man she had been sneaking around with? Gone. He blocked her the second he realized she had nothing left to offer him. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some satisfaction watching it all unfold. She had spent years carefully crafting a life where she could have everything: security, comfort, and the thrill of a secret affair. And in one night I took it all away. Not out of revenge, not out of spite, but because she didn't deserve any of it. A few weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Can we talk?" Just one last time. I debated ignoring it. I owed her nothing, but part of me wanted closure. So I agreed to meet, on my terms. She arrived at the cafe before me, dressed down, no makeup, her hair in a messy ponytail, a far cry from the woman who used to dress to impress. Just never for me. I sat down, wordless. She looked at me, searching my face for something. I gave her nothing. She exhaled shakily. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." I nodded. "Okay." She blinked. "That's it. What else is there to say?" I shrugged. "You didn't feel sorry when you did it, you felt sorry when you got caught." Her eyes welled up. "It wasn't supposed to end like this." I leaned back. "It ended the second you chose him." "Over me?" She let out a broken laugh. "You know, I thought you'd fight for me." I stood up, sliding my chair back. "I did." I gestured at the empty chair across from her. "You just weren't sitting in that seat." And with that, I walked away. I never looked back. Looking back, I don't regret how I handled things. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't try to fix someone who had no intention of being fixed. I just let her face the consequences of her own choices. And that, in the end, was the best revenge of all.